Hello, today is Tuesday, June 29th, 2021. I'm Joe Schmidt from TC2, and this is Staying Connected. When you buy technology or ICT services, issuing an RFP to qualified suppliers is a great way to help frame out your requirements and then do a fair apples-to-apples comparison of the proposals that you receive. But do RFPs work when you're contemplating solutions that require more innovation? What we find is Astute companies do use RFP processes to identify and deliver innovation in IT services and technology. On today's podcast, I have Ben Fox with me, one of TC2's managing directors. And what Ben and I are going to do is discuss some strategies that we've used to leverage RFP processes to deliver innovative solutions. Hey, Ben, thanks for joining me. So why don't you start by elaborating a little about innovation in the ICT space?
Hi, Joe. Yes, certainly. So obviously, when you're sourcing commodity products, there's not really a lot of room for innovation. It's really all about price and terms. But most of the RFPs we work on are for more complex services and technology products, and they provide far more room for suppliers to differentiate their offering over and above pricing. I think sometimes a customer knows the exact solution and the exact services that they require, but more often than not, a key part of the RFP process is really to explore those different solutions and potential services and potential technologies and to determine and select the best solution for that particular customer's unique needs. So I do think innovation is a bit of a buzzword, like all of these things are, and it can end up being kind of meaningless sales talk. But to me, using an RFP to deliver innovation is all about an RFP process that provides room to engage genuinely innovative suppliers, and indeed an RFP process that is flexible and collaborative enough to allow such suppliers to provide a solution to a defined need, rather than simply provide a quote for the customer's predetermined solution.
You know, in my experience, RFP processes and innovation, they're not necessarily compatible. What I found is it can be challenging getting proposals that are clear, understandable, and that can be compared on an apples to apples basis when what you're after is in fact some type of innovative solution. So what you can end up with are very different solutions and proposals.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I think it is a fine line to walk. You know, suppliers protest at the best of times that RFPs are simply box checking exercises where they're expected to just say yes to everything, I suppose, and provide a low price, of course. But there's certainly a balance in terms of the aspects of the solution and the customer's requirements that are mandatory versus those aspects where the customer is far more open-minded as to how to best meet its requirements. You clearly can't just send out a one-page RFP that asks for innovative solutions for how 50,000 global users should communicate and hope to get anything useful back. So RFPs really need to take a more targeted approach to innovation, focusing on specific needs, specific service elements, or current problems and pain points to which suppliers can present their solutions and innovation.
So why don't you give us some examples of how that targeted approach that you just mentioned will solicit innovative proposals in an RFP process?
Well, I would say that probably the best approach is to use the RFP to present an existing pain point or a service improvement objective that the customer has. So for instance, we worked on an RFP where one of the objectives was to reduce the time to provision new and replacement PCs to users. So the client, they presented their vision of how it should work from the user's perspective. And they sought innovative outsourced processes and tools and solutions to deliver to that target experience. Another good example is we had a client that presented its specific operational processes that it wanted its wide area network transport suppliers to interact with. Now, as you know, Joe, network circuit, they're largely commodities. And so the innovation in that case that was being sought from successful providers was really to build in a custom service wrapper to integrate with the required processes. I think that illustrates that supplier innovation isn't necessarily something completely unique, but it can simply be a willingness to work in a different way and bundle existing services into an innovative package. And of course, there's a lot of innovation right now in the area of automation in managed services and outsourcing deals that you and I have spoken about before. And we repeatedly see significant differentiation between suppliers that are using automation to deliver innovative solutions to manual processes and those that are not.
So what about innovative commercial solutions? Our clients seem to always want some type of innovative commercial solution, or at least they think they do.
Yes, definitely. I think clients are always looking for financial and commercial innovation. whether that's solutions that avoid significant upfront one-time transformation costs, whether that's solutions that deliver IT as a service, so-called financial and service models, and innovative approaches to realizing value from legacy assets and ways to shift CapEx costs to OpEx costs and vice versa. And I actually think some suppliers are pretty good at innovative financial and commercial models. But I also think it's true that those kind of innovative pricing models often come with a lot of, if you will, financial baggage. Might be minimum commitments, termination fees, all those things that tend to undermine the original objective. So customers have to watch out for that.
Okay, let's say that you are talking to a new client. How would you help them run an RFP process that delivers innovative solutions?
Well, we've already talked a little bit about using the RFP to present the pain points and solution objectives that you're looking for innovative proposals to solve. And I think that's where you need to start. And I think it's really important to take some time to present and explain that to your potential suppliers and really be ready to collaborate and interact with suppliers and help them to understand what you're trying to achieve. In actual fact, I'd say that willingness to really collaborate with potential suppliers is crucial. I think you have to be prepared to invest time with the suppliers and help them to develop the solution that's right for you. And in a way, almost help them to demonstrate how they will innovate and differentiate themselves. And I would say that, by the way, suppliers engage much more energetically with RFP processes, which are highly interactive and in which they are given an opportunity to demonstrate their ability to develop those innovative solutions and showcase their differentiators. And that's always a good thing. We've actually found that a good way to introduce more collaboration in RFP processes is to have individual solution sessions with each bidding supplier, even before the RFP responses are due. And that allows the suppliers to share their preliminary thoughts and solutions and to give the suppliers guidance on what does and does not work for the customer so that the supplier's final RFP proposal is truly as strong as it can be.
Ben, I've worked with clients that they think they want one thing only to be unsure about what the suppliers propose. Have you seen any pitfalls in this approach?
Well, I would say that one of the biggest pitfalls is when the RFP is too open-ended, as kind of we spoke about at the start, such that you don't get proposals that can be meaningfully compared to each other or that are just simply too high level. And I think the answer to that problem is usually to run some form of request for information process first, simply to narrow down the end state that the customer is seeking. I think another common pitfall is including too many suppliers in the RFP, which just makes it almost impossible to run the kind of collaborative process that we were talking about and that we're advocating. I think an RFI process can also help to cut down the number of bidders. And I'd say that one of the interesting problems customers can face is that the suppliers try to almost work out the answer that you're looking for. So the suppliers hesitate to be too innovative, I suppose, because they worry they'll kind of give the wrong answer to the exam question. So to a certain extent, you actually have to work to foster that supplier innovation, and the interactive solutioning sessions that I mentioned, they can be a really effective tool for that.
Okay, so we've talked about using the RFP to solicit innovative proposals. But what about once a contract is inked? Does ongoing supplier innovation happen once the contract is in place?
So it's a good question. And to be honest, I think the jury's out on that point. As you know, of course, Joe, contracts, they're pretty rigid by design. And so they're not necessarily a good vehicle for driving ongoing change and innovation. I think we see a certain amount of contractual commitments around ongoing innovation, but they're largely aspirational. They're not necessarily that meaningful and measurable. And so I suppose I would say that ongoing innovation really has to be driven by the ongoing customer-supplier relationship. And I would say that customer has to take the lead in driving it and actually seeking mutually beneficial innovation opportunities.
All right. Thanks, Ben. This has been a great discussion. Now, if you are about to begin an RFP and would like to bounce some ideas off of Ben, me, or any of our colleagues at LB3 and TC2, or if you have other ICT needs, please do drop us an email or give us a call. You can also stay up to date by subscribing to these Staying Connected podcasts, checking out our websites, and by following us on LinkedIn.